We are excited to announce that Project for the Web is available. Just go to your app launcher, select Project, and you'll be directed to your project homepage. Here you can create a new project, open one of your favorites, or continue working on another project. Let's go ahead and open up our module redesign project. You have three convenient ways to work. You can work in the grid view, as shown here. You can work in the board view, or the timeline view. In our grid view, you can add columns to see additional information about your tasks, like who the work is assigned to, how long it's going to take, percent complete, start and finish. There's additional columns you can add as well. In the board view, you can view things by progress, what's not started, what's in progress, what's completed. You can even create your own buckets. Maybe I want to organize my projects by module 1, 2, and final. And then finally, in the timeline view, you have the ability to see the overall timeline of your schedule and how each task relates to one another. Now let's create our first project. From the project home page, I selected New Project. First step would be to give my project a name. Let's call this the Solace Project. Once we've given our project a name, we can predict a start date. Let's plan on starting this next Monday. Now I'm ready to begin entering tasks. Let's have a project kickoff meeting. Then I'm going to do some phase 1 work. And in phase 1, I'm going to design, build, and test. Then I'm going to do some phase 2 work with the same pattern. I'm going to design, build, and test. Then I'm going to have a project complete task as well. So what I've done is I've created a simple list of activities that I want to accomplish for this project. Let's go ahead and give this some structure. I want to take the tasks underneath phase 1. I'm going to right click and I'm going to make them subtasks. Let's do the same thing for phase 2. And now I'm starting to give my project some structure. After I've created a list of activities, let's give each one of these activities some duration. How long do I think it's going to take to do each task? Well, let's take a week to do the project kickoff. Then design is going to be 10 days. Then build is going to be 15 days. Let's take 40 hours to test. Then when we go down into phase 2, let's take 3 weeks to design, 2 weeks to build, 1 week to test. Let's take 2 weeks to wrap it all up. So I've got a list of activities. I've got an estimate of how long it's going to take to do each activity. Now maybe what I want to do is add some dependencies between these tasks. So I'm going to add a column called Depends On. And I can come in and I can highlight each one of these activities, right click, and say add a dependency between them. And what it does is it shows me which task is dependent on which other task. I can also do this in the timeline view. When I move to the timeline view, I can zoom out. I can see the tasks that have been linked together. And I can also manually link these tasks together right here as well, just by dragging and dropping the relationship between the activities. I can also go ahead and say, let's make this phase 1 drive project complete. I can even go in and adjust durations. I could come in and say, well, this task is actually going to take a little bit longer than I thought, and I want to add a relationship there. I also would like to say this is going to take a little bit longer than I thought. That's going to push everything out. Let's go back and let's add a relationship here as well. Let's make sure we tie everything down by tying these final tasks together. So now I've got all the logic between each one of the tasks that I'd like to have. If I'd like to move the project start date back, I can simply pick that up, move it back. Now my project's been rescheduled back into the past. So this is a great way to easily create your project, looking at it from the grid view or the timeline view. If you prefer to work in the board view, we can also do things like, let's go ahead and complete a couple of these tasks. When I go to the board view, I'll see that those tasks have been moved to completed. I can move this build into in progress. It'll mark that as 50% complete. So you've got the 3 ways to analyze your data: in the grid view, the board view, and the timeline view, whatever makes sense for you in the way that you like to work. Let's proceed with adding people to work on our project. For the project kickoff meeting, I want to add myself. I find myself immediately once I do that. Then the next thing I might want to do is add additional people to my project. Maybe I want to have a person that works real well with me. I'm going to add Mike Kramer to this project. And when I go to add Mike, the system prompts me to say, would you like to create a group that's private for this project? Or would you like to use a predefined group? Let's go ahead and just create a new group and assign Mike to that task. Another thing that I can do is come in here and show effort. When I show effort, it'll tell me how much effort is being spent on each one of these activities. When I come to the build task, let's add both of us to this task. And you'll see once I add both of us to the task, it'll make the sum of the hours all come together. And so now that's a very easy way for us to add people to work on our projects. They also automatically have access to these projects as well. So add a person to the task, add additional people. It creates a group that can be private or public. You're now starting to resource load your project plan.